going on, Jerome's? So every time a player becomes available or is in the draft, we're always like the Vikings must sign, trade, draft for player XYZ, right? Enter Myles Garrett. So the 29-year-old defensive end is one of the best defensive ends in recent NFL history, future first ballot Hall of Famer, all that stuff, and he is a singular force of nature, but his talent is wasted away again in Cleveland land, right? Because the Deshaun Watson trade absolutely torpedoed this franchise for a decade plus. It took away draft picks, killed cap, and Garrett is fighting the good fight out there, but it's not going to happen when DTR and Snoop Minnis is your quarterback. Just not going to happen, right? And Myles Garrett, after 8 seasons in Cleveland, has requested a trade. He just wants to win, right? And I feel like even Browns fans, I feel like none of them blame Myles Garrett. He's put his heart on the line every single game. He's taken some big-time swings in the NFL, and I think that at a certain point you just get sick and tired of losing, right? And it's sort of like the Timberwolves and Kevin Garnett from back in the day. I don't even think Wolves fans were mad when he requested a trade. Same thing with Myles Garrett. And Garrett, he does like U.S. Bank Stadium. So the question is, yeah. Now, of course, Kwesi. Kwesi loves making some outside-the-box moves, and he did spend 2 seasons in Cleveland as assistant to the regional general manager, Andrew Berry. He's still in power there and will be potentially making the trade, even though he said, even just a week ago, no interest in a Myles Garrett trade. But I feel like Garrett is going to force the team's hand. So Kwesi, been in the building. He knows about Myles Garrett. He knows what he means to that team, to that locker room, etc. So having that inside track and inside information and also direct line of communication to Andrew Berry could certainly help the Vikings. Now, I know what you're thinking. All right, so Flores operates a 3-4, right? And Myles Garrett is a true blue 4-3 handler defensive end, right? But if a player of the caliber of Myles Garrett doesn't fit your scheme, you change your scheme. And that's exactly what Brian Flores would do if he did have the opportunity to coach Myles Garrett. Now, yes, the Vikings do have 2 supreme talents at edge rusher in Jonathan Grenard and Andrew Van Ginkel. And also the Vikings do have Diamond Dallas Turner waiting in the wings. Fully understand that. Fully get it, right? But if somehow, some way the Vikings are able to secure the services of Myles Garrett, it changes the calculus, right? And one of the 3 could be involved in the trade. Who really knows? But I love and trust Brian Flores enough as hey, if we get Myles Garrett, I'm not going to turn him into a stand-up 3-4 outside linebacker, drop him in the coverage. We will change things up front. We will run more even fronts. We will run Myles Garrett in certain passing situations on the inside, outside, lining up. We'll have 4 men down in nickel. We'll have 4 men down on third down. We'll do whatever we need to do to utilize Myles Garrett's talent. I fully have every ounce of faith in that, right? And of course now, the speculation is, where's he going to go? Well, first off, Myles Garrett wants to go to a winner, so he's just not going to go to a bad team. I just don't see that happening. Even though he doesn't have a no trade clause, his leverage is that he won't sign an extension with whatever team that's going to give up significant draft capital to go get him. But the Bills make a ton of sense, all the sense in the world. The Eagles, God, I hope not. The only places I don't want him to go is the Lions, the Packers, the Bears, and the Eagles. That's it. He can go anywhere else. I do not care. Right? And Chargers out there too. Chargers could make sense. The Ravens. I don't see. Even though the Browns are probably just going to have to move him, and everyone's throwing out there is a minimum 2 firsts, minimum. And you might have that because there's going to be so many teams bidding. But, Garrett is going to be 30 in December, and also he already requested a trade out. So there goes the team's leverage of potentially hanging on to him, which is not going to happen. And I don't know. I just don't see them breaking the bank 2 or 3 first-round picks. It'll be a hefty amount, but we'll see what happens. And Myles Garrett, over his 8 seasons in the NFL, 7 straight years of double-digit sack production, just been consistently great, consistently getting after things out there on the edge against the for the Browns. And not only is he a great pass rusher, he's a great team leader as well. He's solid against the run. He really is a true blue 3-down do-it-all 4-3 defensive end. And his contract, that's why there may not be as many suitors either, because Garrett is going to be looking for a fresh extension, likely looking at 28 million per season. He's heading into year 4 of his 5-year, $125 million deal. That could definitely use some freshening up. So I think that potentially, even though all teams are going to be calling the Browns, I think that really could limit what teams are really going to be in the Derby, because you got to pay him. He's going to be 30 in December, and also it's going to cost you significant capital to go get him. All right, so what will Myles Garrett bring to the Vikings? So, like I said, he's 29, does turn 30 in December. Now, I still think that you have at least 4 seasons of high-end first-ballot Hall of Fame production, with Myles Garrett. So that's essentially what you're signing up for. 2023 NFL Defensive Player of the Year, should be in the mix this season as well. 6-time Pro Bowl, 6-time All-Pro, a 4-time first-team All-Pro, 102.5 career sacks, 14.1% career pressure rate, which is astonishing for an edge. It's really fantastic. 7 straight double-digit sack seasons, like we said, and he wants to win. That is the whole thing about it. It's not getting a new contract. He already got a massive contract from the Browns, and will get another massive contract from Cleveland once they clear up some of that cap hell with Deshaun Watson. So it's not a money issue. It's not a money issue. You know what I mean? All right, but it's more about wanting to win. Like, not extending is his leverage. So the Browns could trade him to the Bears or the Raiders, and he could just be like, no, I'm not going to sign an extension here because I want to win. That's why the Vikings would have a leg up in this competition. The Vikings have the cap space to facilitate a trade. They don't have a ton of draft capital, right? 4 picks this year, but they're going to have a surplus in 2026. And even though, like we said, he doesn't fit the Flores 3-4 scheme, Flores would adjust. Like, if Myles Garrett doesn't fit your scheme, adjust your scheme. And I would trust Flores to incorporate Jonathan Grenard and Javon Ginkel, as well as this wouldn't necessarily impact the future of Diamond Dallas Turner. There would be a spot where all 4 of them are on the field at the same time, just getting after things, right? Just get good dudes, and everything solves itself, right? And we talked about how the Vikings have needed to have that singular pass rusher that can get his on his own. Like, Garrett would bring that, along with Grenard, along with AVG. You do need to add some interior pass rush. Garrett doesn't really have a ton of interior experience. He doesn't have a ton of playing over the tackle either. He's generally just a true blue hand-the-dirt edge guy, but could certainly work our way around that. Also, a leg up that the Vikings also would have beyond the direct line of communication between Kwesi and Andrew Berry is maybe a little tag and trade action with Slinging Sammy Darnold, a.k.a. America's quarterback. Maybe the Browns are ready to move on from Deshaun Watson, who had a second Achilles injury. And Darnold would thrive in a Kevin Stefanski adjacent offense in Cleveland. So maybe they're not enamored with any quarterbacks in this draft, and maybe they're set to stick and pick and take maybe an Abdul Carter to help take the starch and the sting out of losing Myles Garrett at 2. So then just spend up, get Slinging Sammy as your quarterback du jour and quarterback of the future. The Vikings could use that. So could it be like a tag and trade with Darnold and a first-round pick in 2025? Maybe a little bit more change for Myles Garrett? I mean, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, right? And I understand. Does this fit in with the Kwesi Moneyball motif? I don't know. Who knows? But all I know is at the end of the day, if you get good players, especially ones that have a couple years of their prime left, absolute difference makers in this game, things will work out. Oh, but he doesn't fit the scheme. Don't care. It would change things. Oh, how are you going to play with Grenard and Andrew Van Ginkel? Don't care. It would work out. Well, what about Diamond Dallas Turner? Yeah, everything will be fine. But I don't know, man. I understand that the Vikings' chances of being in the Derby are low. There's some team that's going to offer just like a really stupid trade compensation package, but ooh, baby, it's a wild world, and you never know. Anyways, your thoughts are thoughts. Myles Garrett? Question mark? Let us know. Comment section. You guys know what to do. Skull production value.